Good evening. Welcome to Plus Money Golf on the Fantasy Sports Corp Network. The show with the pro and the caddy. That'd be Adam and Smitty. My name is Eric. I'm just the host. We are brought to you this evening by our friends at Jazz Sportsbook, Casino, and Online Racebook, as well as our buddies over at Underdog Fantasy. Use code Plus Money, all one word, to get a 100% deposit match. That's a pretty good deal. Chris is over here making sure we're on the internet, making sure the show works, doing all the real stuff. Adam and Smitty are here as well. Not only that, we have company. Our guest tonight just played in his 6th PGA Championship. He's a 2-time national champion, a 2-time PGA Cup winner. He's the first to ever win the PGA National Championship and the PGA Professional Championship in the same year. I said the word champion a lot. If I listed all these, we wouldn't even get to our picks. Alex Beach, how are you doing this evening?
I'm doing great, guys. How are you?
Good.
Excellent.
Good. My pleasure. For you guys, come on.
It says here, lefty who, quote, hits it better right-handed these days. Now you're just showing off.
I mean, yeah, I'm a mixed bag when it comes to dexterity, but I play lefty just to kind of keep the challenge there. All these righties, I don't quite understand it,
That's what I tell people when they say, they're like, oh, why don't you play left-handed? And I was like, I'm just playing left-handed today.
Exactly.
Some of the shots you see these guys hit, flipping the club backwards, hitting it left, right-handed. You practice ambidextrously, like you hit left and then you hit right in the same sessions, or day to day? How do you do that?
I mean, I'll be honest, like when I first started, I grew up in Minnesota, playing a lot of baseball and ice hockey left-handed. I don't believe anybody else in my family is left-handed, but it just kind of came naturally. And when I first got my introduction to golf, we used to visit my grandfather down in Arizona on spring break, and there was a driving range there. So I would go and hit cross-handed righty. And finally somebody noticed it and they're like, hey, that doesn't look quite right. So they finally put a left-handed club in my hand, and I just kind of went from there. But like, I'm right hand dominant, so I throw right-handed. If I play tennis or a racket sport, I instinctively grab it with my right hand, but kind of have 2 forehands. I don't really do backhands. I can't explain it. It's weird, but I think that's kind of how most of us lefties are. We're just kind of, there was like a shortage in the wiring when we were being built, and here we are. So
yeah, we don't have any shortage of
I'm able to embrace it.
Yeah,
we're all left-handed.
I love that.
Yeah, I think a lot of us learn how to hit right-handed just because there's no left-handed clubs or no left-handed gloves in the box.
Yep.
In gym class.
Exactly.
Like, we'll figure it out or don't play.
Exactly. And that's, I think, even, predating myself at my age, like there just was not access to left-handed clubs. And so most people older than us were right-handed because they were forced to be, whether it's kind of natural or not. But yeah, there were points in my career, I'll be honest, where I just got bored and kind of interested in playing right-handed. And I've done a few actual rounds. I've broken 80 right-handed, which there's no way to say that without sounding like a complete dick. And I get it. Yeah. Like,
but if you do it, you got to say it.
It is.
Yeah.
Own it. Right.
I can't even make contact right-handed. Like if I'm giving a lesson, I just it's not going to happen. I'm just going to show, which I think, like you would know, Alex is a teaching professional like me. When you're teaching a right-handed golfer, it's easier because you're face on and they can see what you're doing. Whereas a right-handed player, a right-handed instructor is teaching and it's opposite. So I think that is an advantage to being left-handed at that point. So
yeah, you can kind of mirror students. You're looking right at them. I teach clinics even today. I taught a big clinic, and the verbiage is always the toughest part, like,
Yeah.
the difference between the hands, but you generalize it. But
Yeah.
no, I've hit some pretty good shots right-handed. I mean, I played a practice round at the PGA with a good friend of mine, Mark Hubbard, who is just a gentleman of the game. He's just a beautiful human being, and we have a lot of fun. And we were at a wedding together at Kiowa a few months back, and I will say White Claws may have been involved, but I played a hole right-handed with his clubs, and I think outdrove him and beat him on it. I hit like driver, wedge, putter, easy birdie. And I saw him last week, and he reminded me, he's like, I still think that's one of the best shots I've ever seen. But it's fun to me. Like, for some reason, sports have always kind of come natural. And, every now and again, it's fun to grab a right-handed club from a student or someone I'm playing against, or if I'm really being a dick, I'll warm up right-handed before a tournament. Like, if it's just like a cash game between friends, they've kind of heard my reputation. Like, this guy doesn't look that good. And then, we can switch it up on him pretty quickly, but it's just something I do for fun.
So you're the teaching pro at Westchester. Is there just one teaching pro per club? Is that how it works?
Well, it depends. I think every club is a little unique. We at Westchester, it's a very large club. We have roughly 1,300 families that comprise our membership. So we probably have, I'll just shoot a number out, probably 12 people that could give you a golf lesson. A few of those are kind of full-time instructors where that's their primary role. Others are, assistant professionals or head professionals who, outside of their other duties, will instruct as well. But there are clubs, I think it's more common that a club would have like one primary instructor, a head golf professional. Every staff is a little different, but due to the sheer size of our place, we have quite a few. And that's kind of by design. The reason I'm there is I have a role in which I can just teach and play on the side. And to find flexibility as a club professional is a little tricky. So I'm very lucky to be at a club that not only supports me to play, but when I'm at these tournaments, away from the club, there's not necessarily work falling onto somebody else's plate. Because if you have a job like that and, I'm on the road sometimes weeks at a time, there's usually a lot of things falling through the cracks onto someone else, and that's not really fair. So, in all the right ways, we've got a great staff. It's a really competitively playing staff. I mean, I would put some of us up against, I know you guys like to gamble. If we could do like a national, staff versus staff tournament, I would really like our chances. We've got 3 or 4 guys that can absolutely ball out. So, it's good competition for me internally every day. But yeah, that's kind of my day job in the summer is up at Westchester and then down at the Breakers in the wintertime in Palm Beach, but, competing as much as I can outside of that, with presently not having a tour card.
That would be cool. Like a team event among
that would be cool. Cause there's a lot of clubs that would sign up for that event. If PJ could ever get something like that going.
Do you ever encounter someone? Oh, sorry. You go.
No, go ahead. I was just going to say, it'd be fun to put that together. I don't know how we would, but I think certainly after what we saw this last week that I'm sure we'll get into at some point in this conversation.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys out there that can really play, regardless of what they want to air quotes their job title as.
I've said for the whole year, a little over a year we've had this show. And even before that, I've said it's not going to be long before an amateur wins a major or a club pro wins a major, because the club pros are just way better and the amateurs are getting way better. I mean, we see at the Masters this year. So I think the days where the PGA club pros get kind of slighted at the PGA Championship, this kind of fixed that problem, I think, temporarily.
Yeah, I mean, I know we'll jump into it, but what Mike did, and Mike's a very close friend of mine, I was with him, what he did was amazing. I wouldn't use the word unbelievable because it's very believable.
Right.
He's that good. I can go toe to toe with him most days, and again, his success has nothing to do with me in this, but there are a lot of guys, and I think the business of the golf has changed too, in terms of, yes, there are a lot of club professionals that work a lot of hours in the shop, and every club has different expectations as to what their professionals are and what they do. But that said, you look at some of the guys that made it into the team of 20 this year. I mean, you have a guy that was Korn Ferry Player of the Year a few years
Right.
back. You've got guys that have spent a lot of their time playing, and I think there's a natural fall off in golf where you try to play professionally for a long time, and when you decide that is kind of at its end and you look for a job, well, here's the PGA. And I think they've done such a good job of promoting it that these guys are like, oh, like I've been competing my whole life and here's a career where I can actually make a decent living and maybe not quite travel as much, but have some opportunities to, still play and get those juices flowing. And it's really good. If you can find a role that supports that, it's amazing. But yeah, to your point there, the average club pro, I think it's unfair to
the average. I mean, the top 50 or
like
60.
Yeah, because you're talking like in any industry, every lawyer is not the same. I mean,
right.
Every artist isn't the same. There's people that stand out based on their playing ability, and they're the ones that get the notoriety. But there's ones that are incredible merchandisers or tournament operations, and they're respected in their own way, but obviously with the playing, there's a little bit more publicity. And so there's some showcasing there, but I mean, there's some guys that can really, and girls, I mean, it's not fair to say guys, but there are some people that can really play the game well. They just chose to do this for some reason as a living.
Yeah. I think I think it goes to prove like our point that we talk about all the time, right? About how, oh man, like there's so many good players on the PGA Tour, but like there's so many good players beyond that just don't get the notoriety and get talked about enough. And that's, I think, a big reason why we love like having a guy like you come on the show to talk about that, because to shed some light on the fact that there are some really, really good guys out there that can play the game of golf that don't have their PGA Tour card, like you just said.
Yeah. And, that it's a deep field when you start thinking about it like that. And the majority of the world, they're only introduced to the golfers that the networks and the tour choose to showcase. Like I think another great example recently is Eric Cole. I've known Eric for a long time. We've competed in Q School together. We've played minor league events together down in Florida. I saw him last week in the PGA. I think he was like 5th alternate and parlayed that to like a T15 finish. So Eric's a perfect example of like, I don't think the majority of the world knew who he was prior to him almost winning at PGA National. But if you think about like, and same what Blocky did last week, and what I've done a couple times in my career, like 1 week can change so much where, us that know Eric, like he's one of the best players I've ever seen. For, a smaller dude, he's got unbelievable speed. He's probably one of the best putters I've ever played with. And he can hold his own. He would win minor league events. I would win minor league events. He would play Q School. Like the degree of separation is not far. But then all of a sudden he finally gets an opportunity. And, let's talk about the Honda, which was at best a B-list field on a D-list golf course, most people would say. But it's Eric's backyard. He's played that golf course 1,000 times. He goes out.
Yeah.
And, I still think he gets that shot on 18 up and down 9 out of 10 times, but that's just the pressure of the situation. Finishes second, solidifies his card, and he parlayed that to where he's at now, where he's going to play in another PGA Championship and, realistically keep his card very easily this year. Like the rest of the world had no idea who Eric was, and they're like, who is this guy? But then there's a group of us who have traveled with him and played with him. And, the list goes on and on of guys who have all the ability in the world. And it comes down to the saying of just, you have to play well when you're presented the opportunity. And if you do, a lot can change in a very short amount of time. But, even some of the guys on tour, you look at how they got there. I mean, Spieth, I think, is a perfect example. Like he won on a sponsor's exemption.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know. He's I think, been on record saying like he doesn't think he'd get through Q School. But you just
right now.
Like
Smitty's boy, you got to take it easy on him.
No, it's a,
Hey, they're his
it's
words.
a reality.
Yeah. No,
like,
I get it.
I'm not saying I don't think Speed could get through Q school, but look at if you lose your status and you have to go back to something like Q school,
That's
and
brutal.
you don't have like the benefit of a 3-year exemption, like you have to play well for 4 days, and if you have a bad week or you're sick or you're injured or you play a golf course that doesn't suit your eye, it doesn't speak to how good you are.
These guys you're playing are hungry.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah. And everyone's different. Some guys have a lot of financial backing. Some guys have none. There's guys who, have played that golf course a million times. And the playing field's never totally fair, but
no,
it is what it is.
I mean, that's in everything though. I mean, it's just.
Yeah, it's a fine line. And I've played in some open events with guys that are on that I pick, some weeks to get a top 20 and they don't even sniff. And I was like, man, I just played with that guy like 2 weeks ago and he shot 62 on a super hard course, but it's a course he grew up on. And it's just one of those things that it's really hard. And I've talked to some of the guys in my section that I play with on Mondays that have played many tours and stuff. And they're like, like you say, it's a fine line, but it's super hard and nobody wants to go to Q school anymore.
Oh God, no. They're making it, they being the tour, they're making it more difficult to get on it for the average person, and they're trying to sell tickets and make people turn on the TV. So they want the young, hot college kids. And, listen, everyone has the opportunity to get on tour, but they make it, and rightfully so for the players on it, they make it harder to leave it, and they don't want new guys. So, you can solve everything with good play, but it's not the easiest road for sure. I mean, like I had Corn Ferry status for 2 years and didn't get a single start. That's a sad reality.
Yeah.
Is this the best the feeder system to the PGA has ever been? It seems like there's just so many good golfers, like per capita.
I would think so. I mean, I think you just look at the profession of golf and, people my age were part of the Tiger era where we watched him turn the tour into what it's become today in terms of the money and the lifestyle and all these things. And I think that's only going to increase because the tour is pumping more money in. It's viewing better on TV. These guys are getting younger. And I think most of the players, when they get on tour, they've played on some kind of basically tour their whole career, whether it's through high-level junior golf or, playing golf at one of the top universities in the country. I mean, obviously a few guys kind of will surprise you in terms of where they come from, but there's these prodigy guys and, they are given all these opportunities. They sign with a big agency. They're given sponsors exemptions. They're given coaching. They're giving funding. They're giving every opportunity to do it. So, they make that decision early on to do it and they're fearless, which, I think the hardest part of playing professional golf is off the course. It's the lifestyle, the traveling. Are you mentally strong enough to deal with the ups and the downs? Getting the golf ball in the hole is not the hardest part. It's if you have those other things taken care of. But yeah, I think the competitiveness is going to keep getting stronger. I mean, these kids are getting bigger and faster, and the golf ball, the equipment's ridiculous in a good way. I think the envelope just keeps getting pushed.
Yeah, for anybody that thinks they're that good, you go sign up for a Monday qualifier, and then you can see how good you're not.
You get humbled real quick. You could play with a guy that shoots 99 or 59 and anything in between.
Do you, as an instructor, do you ever encounter people who just suck? They can't be taught. They're just bad at golf, and that's just how it is.
Are you asking for a lesson or what?
Of course. I mean, but you're given different abilities. But what I enjoy about instruction, obviously, I love to compete and love to play and work on my own game. But instructing is interesting because as a self-taught player myself, which is kind of ironic since I now teach for a portion of my living. But I've gone through everything. I was always a firm believer. If I didn't know the answer, I was going to surround myself with people that did, and just soak it up, and kind of take what they say and apply it to my own game. So, yeah, every now and again you have a tough lesson, but you have to remember, it's no different than being taught Spanish or math. Like, everyone's going to retain things differently. I think a teacher's goal is to find a way, as quick as possible to figure out how the student is going to kind of accept the information you're giving them. But you can always make them better.
Yeah.
That's the weird thing with me. Like, everyone that I teach, I'm better than. Like, that's a weird thing to say, but
they wouldn't be asking you to teach them otherwise.
Right. Like, I'm the expert in the situation. Like, you wouldn't ask me necessarily how to cook a meal of some kind. Like, you would go find a chef. And in golf, so much of it is, yes, mechanics and this and that, but I think a lot of people learn just of how you think about things and how situations work. And, there's so much to a lesson that's more than just like fix my slice. Like, that's easy. But, like, you dive deeper, and yeah, like, everyone has different abilities. And I think you have to kind of grab that early in the lesson and say, listen, let's be realistic here. Like, and I will often ask people, like, kind of, where are you at? What's your goal? And what are you willing to put into it? Because based on those three answers, we at least have a flight plan. Like, if you say, I'm a 15 handicap, I want to be a 5, and I'm willing to play every Saturday. Well, here's the reality of that situation. It isn't going to happen.
No.
Right? So I'm not
No.
I'm not going to lie to them and say, okay, like, yeah, we can do that, no problem. Like, here's what's going to be required to do that. And that you have to be honest with them. Like, I'm nice about it always, but I think you have to be somewhat honest and realistic in what's capable. But yeah, I'd be happy to give them the information to help them get there. But yeah, I mean, some lessons are easier than others, but I like the challenge. And I think the most gratifying thing, which would feel like winning in a golf tournament for me, is having someone create a goal, you help them get there, and they achieve it. There's no better feeling than that,
Right.
From an instruction side.
Yeah, when they finally hit that one good shot that you've been working on for 50 balls, and it's like, that's what we're trying to do. And it's like, you see how happy they are, and then it's like, you kind of run off that energy. So that's the fun part about teaching.
They give you that look or that, like, holy shit moment, like, see,
Yeah.
like, you can do it. And then it's like, all the work that took to get there was worth it. All the trials and tribulations. And that's, golf parallels life in a lot of ways. But as the instructor, like, that's the fun part. But yeah, there's definitely some lessons that are more sought after than others.
So what do you think about where golf is going? The split with PGA and Live, is the future of golf bright?
Oh, absolutely. The PGA Tour Live thing, I've always kind of stayed out of that. Like, let's be honest, I don't blame anyone for going.
Yeah.
That's a lot of money to play golf.
It's a lot of money.
I also think, without getting into specifics, that competition breeds change. There's been a lot of change in the last 18 months on, I think, certainly one tour, that if their hand wasn't forced, they would have never considered doing some of the things they're doing now. But that's anything, if there's no one pressing you to make a change, nothing's going to happen, and so for those reasons, I think it's good. I think there's a lot of positive change that came out of it. I dislike very much the polarization that the media has required from this. Like, depending on what side you're on, like, that's an insane comment to me.
Yeah.
Like,
and I see these guys battling around the course.
I thought it was nice this week that we saw more of those Live guys on TV. We saw more of the interviews. Like, it was just felt like they folded them back in very nicely.
Yeah, it was just a normal golf tournament for once, and we could enjoy it.
They didn't try to make it like this whole big media thing. And I think at Augusta, to me, it felt like the media really toned down some of that back and forth. And then this week was even better than that. So I look for more positive things coming forward.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I agree. Obviously with Brooks winning, that's huge. Like I was watching, Zach Johnson's interview about the Ryder Cup, and they just couldn't stay off of that subject.
Yeah.
And it's like, he's being as PC as he can about it. But listen, like it's a golf tournament that's not run by the PGA Tour.
Right.
So the PGA of America or the RNA and the USGA, they can do whatever they want. And ultimately, they want the best product for not only themselves, but, the entity that they're supporting. And so what if 48 guys went to play a different tour? Now, I don't think, there should be some kind of a deal where they're not going to be able to go back and play the PGA Tour. Like that makes total sense. But if this is just another golf tournament and it's a major, so be it. And I agree with you. This felt like Brooks did something interesting. I don't know if many people noticed, but the live guys at the PGA, they were allowed to wear their team logo, but not anything that said live golf. Like I played with a guy that's live, and he had literally electrical tape on his shirt and his hat covering where it would say live golf. But which is crazy. It looked ridiculous. But Koepka, he had a blank bag.
Yeah.
He didn't have his team logo on it anywhere. It just said Brooks Koepka, which
I think that's the one he had
at
Augusta too.
Yeah, which, and he's made the comments like, when he was hurt and someone dangled a huge amount of money in his face and he wasn't sure of his future, whether that's the real answer or not, who knows? But if that's true, it has a lot of merit. And I think a lot of guys miss playing on the PGA Tour. And the biggest question mark now is like how, if and when their contract is up with Liv, what's next? Are they able to come back? Are they not? Are they going to be blackballed? I've heard some stories of what the tour has done to some guys that's left, and it's pretty unfortunate because, like Cam Smith's a great example. I don't know who knows the specifics, but he was basically blackballed from playing golf in Jacksonville.
I have seen that, yeah.
Who else is there? Like he literally couldn't join a club. Now, like he's a guy that if he stayed, they would ride into the sunset, but he made a decision. And, the media has made it polarizing, and it's almost like politics. They've made us try to pick a side. And I don't think as the viewer we should.
Right.
Yeah. But, and it's gotten past that narrative now where people don't care about the side as much as the beginning, and the media is unwilling to let that go. And they just keep riding that narrative, and it's almost getting annoying for everybody else.
Correct. And that's why, last week at the PGA, obviously the story heard around the world is Mike Block. And there's comments said like I think even Seth Waugh said it. He's like, it's just nice to have a storyline in golf that's not about money.
Yeah.
We're reminded like why we do this and why we love the game. And we're not forced to pick between, like, I'll be honest, I've never watched one hole of Live Golf. I mean, I usually use the CW to watch One Tree Hill rerun. Totally joking, but
yeah, I mean, if I need if there's supernatural,
if there's going to be a playoff in the Live Tour, then they'll cut away to the Simpsons rerun, so you're good to go on that.
Exactly. Yeah, then they'll flip it back on. But it's wild, man.
I think as a TV viewer, I'm excited to see what Tiger's got going with this Stadium Series. Yeah, that's going to draw in a lot of casual fans, I think, to golf, who will then watch other tour events.
Definitely. Yeah. Even like these little matches that we've seen over the last couple of years, kind of starting in COVID, I think it's fun. Like we as the viewer just want to see great golf competition. And I don't think at the end of the day, people really give a shit what they're playing for. It's entertainment. Like the golf is entertaining. Tiger was an entertainer. People looked at him as an entity of that. It's not, they don't love him. They just love what he did for the game and the excitement that they brought. So, to answer your question, I think golf is in a very positive place, and I think it's going to continue to grow, over the next amount of years with just all of the right things that they're doing. And I think some of these unfortunate things will get ironed out and hopefully be a thing of the past.
So how hard was Oak Hill?
Yeah. Boy,
And we're not going to
wasn't
put you on
easy.
blast, but we're just wanting to see
No,
how
just
hard.
throw me on blast.
No, I
I
mean,
would
I
say
looked,
this,
I was following, and I was like, oh, geez, this looked like something happened. I mean, just it looks very difficult from a TV perspective, but I mean, I'd figured you'd probably played that course before being in that area, but I didn't know if you had anticipated like almost a US Open setup.
I mean, I had never played there. Rochester is still 5.5 hours roughly
Okay.
from where I am in New York. So, that said, I had a lot of reasons to go up there. Jason Ballard, who's the director of golf, he and I worked together years ago. And when he got the job, I'd always had interest in going up there, but just with my busy schedule and, how life happens, it
Yeah.
hasn't happened yet until last week. That said, going into it, I expected it to be very similar to what it was, where it's just classic golf course. The redesign, I never saw the old one, but I mean, it quickly jumped into one of my favorite courses I've ever played. And, I'm battling a pretty gnarly back injury, so I wasn't really healthy this week, which sucked, and I wasn't able to really give it my all. But like that golf course was so fair, but just so difficult. It was almost like, I think if, relating it to closer to here, like if Wingfoot and Bethpage had like an illegitimate love child, that was just really cool. If you hit good shots, you were rewarded. That, the only complaint I would have about the course, not that you asked what my complaint was, but the grass on the lip of the bunkers was a little long. So like we saw some shots where it kind of stayed halfway up. We saw a couple of guys buried into the lip. That was a little goofy. The only other complaint I would have was some of the fairways were almost legitimately impossible to hit just because of how narrow they were and how the fairway sloped one way or the other.
Yeah, it looked like a few of those, like the wind was blowing it where you had no chance of even getting it in the fairway with the direction of the wind and the slope of the hole.
Correct. Like everything changed once it rained, obviously. But like the 4th hole, the 9th hole, and 17. And again, I'm a lefty that plays a slight cut, so my shot is working against those. But I had some pretty good shots, and I played with a bunch of guys that hit it really well. I mean, it's just the way that they turn at where most drives are landing. And, the difference in having the ball in the fairway versus the first cut versus 2 feet into the primary rough is night and day. I mean, the rough, you were chopping it out 150 yards max. If you somehow found a really good lie, but it was one of those scenarios where you had to miss really big to find that. If you missed really small, you almost had the hardest shot. And around the greens, the bunkers are so deep. Obviously, the PGA is going to tuck some pins and kind of entice you to go at them. But if you hit fairways and you hit greens, it was very scoreable. I mean, the greens were not crazy fast; they were quick, but
they wouldn't get away
for a
from
major. No, like you had to play smart. But again, like you appreciate a golf course like that. I think the sentiment from the players all week that I heard and have seen now on social media is it felt to me like a US Open that the PGA of America ran, which meant it was a really good test and they didn't fuck it up. Like they like it was pure. Like good shots were rewarded and bad shots. You had a chance, but you had to play smart. Like the 6th hole there, which I was fortunate to birdie my first day, but that's one of the hardest holes I've ever played.
I would have had to hit driver on that hole. I'm just going to say, like.
Oh, everyone did. I hit driver. Well, the first day I think I hit driver 8-iron, but it played into the win in practice round. I hit driver 5-iron. So, my takeaway from the golf course, it was unbelievably good. The condition was phenomenal. The layout was incredible. The fans were unbelievable. Just, the whole event, even with the bad weather, like people were out there cheering. Obviously, what Mike did and what Brooks did was incredible. And it just adds to the storyline. But the town really rallied behind the whole tournament. You couldn't go to a restaurant or bar in that entire city that wasn't full of people there for the tournament or excited about it and talking about it. And that's what makes playing in those so special, especially in an environment like that. But I really can't say enough good things about the golf course. I mean, it was pure. It was really, really, really hard. I think the average person would have a hard time breaking a lot. But
Well,
you look back and it was hard. But the best player won.
Yeah, so I think like something that's been common from, and you just talked exactly about it. Like a lot of guys were talking about how it's like, oh, this course is really challenging, but it was also very fair. And like you're literally not even close to the first person who said that. I mean, during practice rounds, guys were being interviewed and they're talking about how it's like, yeah, I'm not really sure how hard this course is, but it's also really hard. And then about the whole thing about how guys are actually going and practicing specific shots in the rough with all kinds of different clubs because the people are worried about it. And for me as a golf fan and someone also who gambles on it too, I was really, really excited about the PGA Championship this year, knowing that the winner was going to be the winner wasn't going to get to 10 under or better. We talked about that in last week's show. We thought it was going to be similar to last year's, where like around 6 under again, and it was pretty close to that because I was tired of seeing scores at 30 under.
Yeah.
And just birdie fest after birdie fest. Like I like to see guys that are super talented be challenged and have to really work to get those birdies and even pars sometimes.
Isn't that exactly what a course designer is going for? To get the guys will say it's challenging, but I loved it.
Yeah. I mean, the designer's trying to make it as difficult as possible, but also make it fair, which it is fair. But it also shows how well that these old courses stand the test of time.
Yeah.
They're not able to go super deep on all these old courses. We see it at some of the US Open sites, like Marion. They just don't take it low because the course is that, I don't know if it's that hard, but it's the old courses seem to play harder. Whereas, Aaron Hills played whatever, 1,000,000 under par or whatever they shot there at Smitty's course. 16 in a major. I just don't think we should go back to venues like that, unfortunately, because they're good courses, but not for a major.
Yeah, and like I think from my perspective, like Oak Hill is classic old school golf. I mean, there's a lot of courses like it in Minnesota. There's a lot of courses like it here in New York where there's huge trees. And one of the things that I read that it didn't dawn on me necessarily until I read it and then thought about it was the trees there were never in play. Outside of you hitting it sideways on a hole, like your sight lines were clean. There wasn't like a stupid hole where you're like, oh, this tree sticks out, and I think I read somewhere they asked Andrew Green, like, how many trees did you take out? And he was answered with the right amount. And right. I couldn't agree more. Like there was nothing stupid about the course. And some, often there's just gimmicks. There's just things that are out there that you're like, why is that there? But on the harder holes, you could run a golf ball up to the green. The greens were, good in size. Like they had 2 par 3s, 5 and 15 that played right around 150 to 170 yards for a golf course that was like 7,400. Mm-hmm. But they were awesome because if you hit a good shot, you had a really good chance at a birdie. But if you hit a bad shot, you could look at making a 4 or 5 in a heartbeat. And some of the longer holes, if you hit the fairway, it would run down another 50, 60 yards and kind of leave you with a short iron. But if you missed, you were left with a long iron out of the rough. And then you were just at the mercy of a good or bad lie and a couple bounces. And some of the hole locations are very inviting. But if you miss by a little bit, you could run off into these little areas where, they were so pure. Like the area right at 15 that used to be a pond is now just a shaved down chipping area that I would say would rival the condition of a really good course's green. Like the chipping area rolled like a 12. I actually practiced, and I wasn't alone in the short game area by the driving range chipping off of their practice green because it was closer to what the actual fairway approaches were like than any of the grass around it.
Jesus, that's wild.
Which Yeah, which is crazy, right? But like,
that's
there
nuts.
was nothing gimmicky about it. It was just pure. And yeah, it's an old school golf course that got a facelift. And I think you hear, Gil Hans and some of these other guys that are kind of going and redoing a lot of these classic courses. That seems to be the trend. If you're not doing a renovation, you're kind of being left behind.
Right.
And it's a bad time to be a tree. I'll tell you what.
Well, I mean,
you be a tree right now.
we've seen the PGA at two, new redos, like last year, Southern Hills, Perry Maxwell, great course. And they did a fabulous job
Awesome
at that
place.
course.
Yeah. And again, like I left Southern Hills thinking the same thing. Like it's just pure golf. There, unfortunately, the weather became a little bit of a factor,
Yeah.
but the last two, and even Quail Hollow, they played that right after they completely redid it. Like amazing place, just really, really hard. So I think the PGA has done an amazing job of finding these venues that they put a really fair test out there. The best players tend to rise to the top. And if you don't play well, it was kind of on you. It wasn't bounces, it could be bad lies. But I think that's what you look for in a major. I mean, we're going to see another one here in a few weeks. And if history repeats itself, I don't think people will be making the same comments. But, they're different for a reason. So my hat's off to the PGA, not just as a PGA member, but I think it was just a very well-run tournament. And I've been lucky to see it a few times. So I feel pretty comfortable in saying that.
Should we get into Colonial and the Charles Schwab this week? Pick some winners? Or should we review last week, maybe? How did we do last week, Adam?
Killed it last week. Obviously, we had Brooks for the win. We had at plus 2,000.
Not bad.
Rory top 10. Hatton top 20. Cantlay top 10. Michael Block top 20 at 30,000 to 1.
I never heard of Michael Block.
Well, we picked Alex. We picked Michael Block. And
Yep.
I've had all my money on Alex.
Chris did. He texted me several.
Man.
He texted me several times and said, "I'm going to put my money on Alex." And I was like, "Okay." He's like, "I hope he's feeling good. I hope he's in good health this week." I should have sent you a message before he placed that bet.
Well, shit, I feel good after last week, man. That was my second best week of the year. So
yeah,
plus 9 units, I'll take that.
I had money on all the other ones sprinkled, but Alex, I was on. I had a lot of money on you.
Predominantly.
Oh yeah, I was like, we're either gonna pay the $8 and lose $8, or we're gonna pay $8 and the mortgage is done.
Yeah.
Hey man,
Pay this
trust
thing
me,
off.
I was on your side of it. Trust me, just didn't pan out this time.
Hey, before we get truly into all this stuff, though, Alex, I had one question I want to ask you. So, when Michael Block was asked and was talking about, him playing with Justin Rose and how he was like truly starstruck because of how much he loved watching, Justin Rose play, growing up and all that kind of stuff. And is there anybody that you've ever been paired with where you had that feeling going into a round?
Yeah, it's a great question. I don't think so. I've been fortunate to play with a lot of guys now, whether it's in tour events or pro members or just kind of casual rounds. But I've also, unfortunately never been in the situation that Mike was in on Saturday, where you kind of made the cut, you're continuing to go, and you get paired someone based on score. I think that's just such a different feeling mentally than just being paired with someone kind of off the bat.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously my first tour event with Sean O'Hare and Kevin Na, that was interesting, but I wasn't starstruck playing with them. It was just kind of being in the field and being on the range and playing with these guys. But, I talked to Mike. I was with him Sunday night after he won. It was just kind of to me and his family. Finally kind of celebrating what an unbelievable, amazing accomplishment he did. And we asked the question to him, what was playing with Rosie or Rory better, more nerve-wracking? And he kind of thought about it for a second. He's like, honestly, it was the same. Like they were both like, by the way, you probably couldn't have picked two nicer guys.
Yeah.
That's true.
For someone in his scenario, like respectful, but he made the comment too, like this was a third and a fourth round in a major. So as cordial as they were, it was still business as usual. And I think that probably would help somebody in that scenario, whether it was myself or Michael, where, you know, you're playing alongside of them, but yeah, but you've also been competing against the whole field. Like they're just another competitor. You know, you're not just going and enjoying like
The
a
best
casual
was
round
when-
with them where you.
Am I frozen?
No, you're not frozen.
Best was when he hit the hole in one and he asked Rory where it went.
It
And he said it's in the hole. What a moment.
was unbelievable. I mean, it was a Cinderella story, hole in one in a major. I mean, that's nuts.
Yeah, like the casual people who aren't golf fans at all, I don't think understand. Like I've heard it talked about on sports talk radio. This story has permeated all the other.
I mean, I thought
big
the
enough
putt,
deal.
I thought the putt on 18 was better than the hole in one, because if he doesn't know that if he misses that putt, he's out for next year, but he makes the putt and he's in for next year. And it hits the side of the hole and tilts in. I was like, oh,
Agree. I thought that
my wife's
I thought
like,
that
what happened? I
entire-
was like, the dude just made a putt to make it next year. I was like, holy shit.
That entire up and down was crazy. Like he looked like he had just, you know, he's had that chip a million times,
Like he was
and he
playing
hits it in the perfect place to bounce it in the rough to pop it on the green for an 8-footer, and then he just backdoors that 8-foot putt to par to get in the top 15 and secure a spot for next year. Like, what is going through your head at that point? A lot, I'm sure. And he has just the stones to make two great shots in a row.
Ice cold.
I mean, I think, I mean, I was there walking with him for the entire final round, and like, it's going to sound really cheesy what I'm about to say. And I've thought it through and I've told other people this. Being with him all week, and like, listen, we had dinner Sunday, Monday night leading into it. We played our practice rounds together. Like, nothing early in the week would have hinted this was going to happen. Obviously, he's an unbelievably good player. You know, you ride it out, and he played really well. When it got to Sunday, you know, I think he makes the cut Friday night. Everyone's excited for him. Obviously, he's going to win Low Club Professional. At this point, it's kind of, you know, gravy, anything that you accomplish. And he goes out on Saturday, paired with Rosie, you know, kind of makes a couple mistakes early and then makes those birdies. And you can just kind of see like his confidence. And he was feeding off the crowd, which was so cool. And they bought into it. And then he started having fun. So again, like when you're having fun playing golf, regardless of what stage you're on, you can do really well. If you're out there and nervous, and I think, you know, had he maybe played poorly or had some really bad breaks, like, yeah, it's easy to kind of get down on yourself and you start self-imploding. But like, he fed off it so well, and he went out on Sunday, and we were talking about it with his wife. He looked a little nervous. Like, you could just tell he wasn't as free with the putting stroke. Maybe on the front nine, but he made a couple nice saves and kind of built that confidence. And when he got to the back and you kind of started seeing the holes count down to the finish line, and you're like, holy shit, like, you know, obviously this is going to be incredibly special regardless of where he finishes. But like, you started to get this feeling that there was some kind of like higher power involved, in the sense of, when he aced 15, a literal slam dunk, the amount of people that were already out there watching him, you know, pretty well oiled up from a day of watching golf. And, you know, there's a ton of hospitality. It's almost like a little amphitheater there on 15. From that point forward, you're like, holy shit, like, he's now like tied for 14th in this tournament. And he claims he didn't know it. I think he had a decent idea. Right. Like, and I knew it, you know, T15 is next year, and T10 is the Canadian, which I guess he got it anyway. You know, T4 is the Masters, and you're like, holy cow, like, he just got back to even par.
I was thinking T4
16,
the whole time.
Oh, that would have been so sick.
T3, special temporary exemption on tour. Like, there's a lot on stake, you know, not to mention a pretty nice payday, regardless of where he finished. So, you know, he makes the bogey on 16, kind of a squirrely lie in the rough, short sides himself, but like, good bogey, you know, like we talk about, there's good bogeys in life.
Mm-hmm.
17, and I think people will talk about the hole in one. Obviously, the hole in one is ridiculously, unbelievably cool. It's storybook stuff. But if we talk about his total finish in the tournament, having seen it firsthand, he hits a drive in the right rough on 17, which is absolute jail. He punches it out, and I shit you not, it carried the edge of the rough where he was trying to cover it to get back in the fairway by maybe a club length. If that thing gets gobbled up, it sits right there. You know, he's laying up with his third, so he hits it down middle of the fairway. So you're like, okay, that was a huge break. Like, he needs a couple breaks coming in to like get this done, because you know how hard 17 and 18 are.
Yeah.
He then hits wedge to like 6 feet, buries it. Huge momentum, and it's like, okay, he needs a par on 18. Blocks his, you know, pun intended, blocks his drive a little bit right over by those bunkers, which if he's in those bunkers, it's auto layup, no chance. I think he missed him. I couldn't quite tell. I was standing behind the green. Pulls that iron shot down to the left by the scoreboard, which is absolute jail. We could sit there and hit the shot that he hit for the next couple hours with a bunch of range balls and probably not get up and down more than a couple times.
It was insane.
And he's down there on the wiry grass. The amount of people there, I mean, he's in the third to last group or whatever it was in a major. There's tens of thousands of people, all the pressure in the world, whether he knows what's on the stake, he knows what's, you know, whether specifically or not, but he knows what's at stake. You know, if he flubs that into the bunker and makes double, like, okay, it's a great story, tough finish. That thing could not have landed in a better spot. It landed dead. If that thing hits the green with any speed, he's got 40 feet coming back, and it rolls to 8 feet, and you're like, holy shit, like, this is, it just feels like it's meant to be. And then
Written
he
in
hits
the
that
stars.
putt,
Yeah.
I love him to death. Like, that putt had no business getting to the hole. Like, but it as it's falling away from the hole, like, it lips in right side.
Yeah.
Like, I've only seen that happen one other time, and it's when Phil won the Masters.
Yeah.
Like, and then you're like, holy shit, like, he did it. Like, this is the greatest story in golf in my lifetime.
Mm-hmm.
And it's exactly what the sport needed. Obviously, you know, for me, it was an amazing moment to be close with him and spend the rest of the night and, you know, kind of see firsthand, like the words that I put to it is, it's very rare to witness someone's life change right in front of you.
Yeah.
And someone made that comment to me when I won the national championship, and I couldn't help but think of it when I saw Mike do that, because, I mean, obviously, unbelievable.
It's all different now.
His whole life's different. I mean, he went
changing.
I was laughing at it earlier. He went from 3,900 Instagram followers. Like, his goal for the week, he made a comment, he wanted to get to 4,000. I think he's about 200,000 right now. He, you know, obviously got an exemption into the Colonial this week.
Canadian
flew down
next
yesterday
week.
to do that. Got into the Canadian, week after next or whatever it is. And, like, you know, he'll win National Player of the Year now. Again, he'll win his section championship, what gets him into Farmers. So, you know, as I look at Mike's schedule coming up, he's got like at least 4 or 5 starts on tour. And if he keeps this going, I mean, it's ridiculous. But that's what, you know, back to the comments, like, 1 week can change everything. And I think for him, like, it's the most relatable story for all of us. Like, he's just an average dude. He's a really great dude, but, you know, loves his family, doesn't aspire to travel as much anymore, but loves these opportunities. And, you know, his interaction with the crowd and the interviews, like, he won everybody over. And it's just so cool to see someone do that, let alone a friend. But, you know, what he did for the golf professionals and the status of our profession,
it's huge.
People becoming interested, it's a game changer. I mean, Netflix was out with him all day Sunday doing an episode of Drive, you know, whatever, Full Swing.
Yeah.
So he's going to have an episode, and like,
Oh,
that's what
hell
the people
yeah.
want,
That's sweet.
It
right?
just
Like,
gives
like that's what everyone wants. We, you know, as cool as it is to see, you know, Brooks, and nothing against him, he won the tournament, but you know, that's a story we've heard 3 times. This is something we've never seen.
Well, like, for every
so
club
no,
pro,
it's so cool.
I feel like for every club pro out there, PGA guys sign up for your section championship, and you're like, dude, that could be me if I just, you know, get through the section championship and I get in the top 20, and it's like, if everything clicks and it goes right for you, that could be you. So I think to me, it's going to help maybe some participation in section events for some of the sections that don't get big turnouts in the championship, because we've seen a guy parlay it into something huge. So
100%.
nothing but positive
100%.
for everything. It gave me hope. It made me want to go to the range the next day. So
I think he can probably charge a few more bucks for lessons now too.
yeah.
Right. Yes. Yesterday's price is not today's price.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Got to pre-book those lessons,
This week,
It's so cool.
Yeah.
This week we got the Charles Schwab at Colonial Golf Course, founded in 1936 by Marvin Leonard, chiefly out of a desire to introduce bent grass greens to the area. Evidently, he was just dead set on this. They referred to him as bullheaded. These old-time golf guys, I got a lot of respect for them. This place is something else. The clubhouse looks like the White House. I mean, I don't think I could go play a couple rounds there.
No.
No.
It's like that old line. They got a pond. You got a pond or a pool? They got a pond right in the back.
Pond probably better for you. Yeah. Is this the level of difficulty that we had last week, or are we going to see 23 under again?
Scorcher.
I mean,
I'm calling it. Coming off a major, it's going to be a scorch fest.
yeah, I mean, when you look at the leaderboard from last year and stuff, I mean, it was Sam Burns and Scotty right at 9 under. So, I mean, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens, I guess. But it's a different field this year. That's for sure.
Yeah, I don't know what the weather is. It's probably going to be, 88 degrees in Texas. It's going to be brutal.
Oh, yeah, those are Texas degrees. They're different.
The rough's not going to be as crazy this week as it was last
I
week.
should hope not.
It's a tighter.
It's growing a half inch an hour.
But
it's a tighter course.
Yeah, the greens are super small though, comparatively speaking to the PGA Tour. 6 smallest greens on tour, which is, and then 4th narrowest fairway. So I mean, you're gonna have to be precise a little bit here off the tee, and then even when it comes to your approach shots. So I'm excited for it. I think it's gonna be a good tournament.
Yeah. Well, before we get into all these picks, let's get our message from producer Chris from our friends at Jazz Online Sportsbook, Racebook, and Casino.
Jazz, Sportsbook, Casino, and Racebook, the world's best resource for all-purpose online wagering. For over 20 years, Jazz has provided the best and quickest payouts in sports and entertainment wagers. Live sports betting, covering all the major sports leagues, and even into the new and exciting world of esports. Down the stretch you'll come, with Jazz's online horse wagering. Get paid when you play with Jazz's fun and exciting online casino games. Go online now and use the promo code TSS for our new members deals. Jazz Sportsbook, Casino, and Racebook, the world's best resource for online wagering.
Esports. We're betting on video games now. That's wild.
That can't be legit.
It can't be.
Hold on. So during COVID, I may or may not have made some bets via esports.
Oh my God. It's like
Hey, man,
Eric
I was
betting
like-
on Japanese thumb wrestling or something like that. Whatever it is, he bets on.
I cleaned up on the World Hockey Championships this morning. Germany kicked the shit out of France. Well, that's what we were looking for. 5-0. So what kind of golfers are we looking for here in the Schwab?
Texas guys,
Yeah,
great
obviously,
drivers.
baby.
Texas guys, that's Spieth, isn't it?
That's
Oh,
Smitty's boy.
Is he from Texas? Oh, I didn't even know that. Weird.
I hope he comes to the JDC this year so Smitty can, get all that out of the system.
Oh,
That'd be great.
I mean, he's a good golfer.
Get some photos with Smitty and Spieth.
Unbelievable. No, JT posted, dude.
Yeah, he's our boy.
Yep.
Posted
He's our
fan
guy.
crew.
He's our guy. We're loading up on JT posting at the John Deere. Oh, I got to get my notes out here before we get to top 20s. How did we do it last week? I think Adam went first last week.
Yeah.
Didn't he? Yep.
We switched it up because our Smitty going first, our odds we were getting clipped off there pretty good.
Yep.
Yeah, we better save the best for last. This is what we need to do then.
Yep. We better stick with what works.
For this week.
Adam, who's in your top 20 for the Charles Schwab?
Fowler at 140.
Wow. He's playing well.
Yeah. Hostler at 280.
280.
Stallings at 450. Jimmy Walker, 600, Texas guy.
What are they doing putting Jimmy Walker at 6-1?
It's crazy.
We're going to make him pay for that.
And then I'm riding the Michael Block train at 1,000.
Our man, Michael Block.
It's a course where he's a good driver of the ball and fits right in there. Don't have to be long, got to be straight, which he is. Small greens, decent putter. Seems like a winning formula there.
Right.
That's what you want. And he's feeling good.
And it's 10-1.
I love a 10-1. What do you got over there, Smitty?
All right. I have Max Homa at plus 105. Still plus money there. And
still counts.
I feel like, and I was looking at a lot of DFS stuff this week too, just like to see where that buzz was going and everything. And everywhere I kind of went, it was, Max Homa is going to be one of the more expensive guys that's not going to be picked. There's going to, he's up towards the top with that and everything. But so there, a lot of DFS like sharps are saying take Homa this week because he's not going to be owned as much as other teams. But I think that he's got to, at some point, he's too good of a golfer to not turn things around. So I have him at plus 105. I have Cam Davis at plus 165. I actually have JT Poston at plus 275.
Getting close to July. It's right in Poston month.
It's kind of where he's going to start.
It's where he starts hitting it.
Right. Emilio at plus 280.
Who now? Who in the what now?
The Grillo.
Yeah. I have him at plus 280. And then I also have Michael Block at plus 1,000 just because, like Adam said, I mean, he's proven it. Granted, fatigue and emotions might be a factor this week with him or whatever. If you don't like that, but you want to pick him at like a top 40. I mean, he's at plus 275. I think the last I saw it. That's still not bad. Top 40.
That's not bad.
It's just throwing that out there with him. But I mean, it was hard for me to pick a top 20 just because I like my outrights and top 10s, but I just was kind of all over the place there a little bit with my top 20s. And I've been struggling with top 20s as of late, so I kind of was going a different route there.
Safer.
Yeah.
That's my risky pick. So you take the safe one.
Alex, you think Michael Block's got a top 20 in him this week? I think he does.
I mean, there's no reason he can't. I think, you ride the hot players and, again, this is storybook stuff. So I think if he makes another cut, and as you guys said in the last show, you make a cut, you make up a couple shots.
Yeah.
Top 20 is right there.
Yep.
Yeah.
But I agree with you saying. I mean, it's not a super long course, but I've played it. It's tough. I mean, you gotta hit it straight. It doesn't necessarily have to be a bomber's paradise, but someone that can find the fairway and find the green and not make a huge mistake. So yeah, I think Block's
sounds like
just
our
as
guy.
good as that is a lot of yeah. I'd be a buyer.
We don't deal with stats in this show. It's all hot players.
I don't know. I kind of like stats too.
That's it. Yeah, stats are fun.
A lot of vibes, couple stats in there. We figure it out. Who's in your top 10s, Ed?
Justin Rose at 260.
Like that.
Kitayama at 500. I got off of him, then the guy almost wins again, so I'm back on him again.
Yep.
JT Poston played a good final round on Sunday, so we're getting close to Poston month,
Yep.
where he really starts to kick it into gear. So,
What are the odds on posting for top 10?
Oh, sorry, yeah, 600.
Nice. Oh yes.
And then I went with my 2 picks that got scorched on the week before that I didn't pick. Eckroat at 1,000 and Tway at 2,200.
Tway was up there, wasn't he?
The one week I don't pick Eckroat and Tway to be a top 10 or a top 20, and they both finished inside the top 20. It was Eckroat was T second. Unbelievable.
He just about won. Yeah, he was in the lead Friday.
Yeah, and he gets good odds for like a top 10 or even for a win. So, because unless you are, I've lived in Stillwater, nobody knows who this kid is.
Yeah, that's the benefit we have of the resident PGA pro.
Yeah.
Like this guy lives down the street from here type stuff. That's valuable. What do you think, Smitty? Who's finishing in the top 10?
I got a guy, you guys might know who he is, Jordan Spieth.
I've heard of him.
Plus 150. It's not great, but I mean, when you're
on plus side of the top 10, that's not good.
When you're a sure thing,
there's a lot of trees in this course, Smitty. Did you see the clip I sent of him hitting that iron shot? It was like, I just hit one fucking iron shot today.
He's fine. Okay, he's mentally tough. He's a scrambler.
Nice hole, PGA. Nice fucking hole.
I have Victor Hovland at plus 150. The guy's gonna get it done at some point, and he does keep piling in top 10. So let's fucking roll with him, right?
Playing steady.
Yeah, and then I have Max Homa at plus 230, and I have Colin Morikawa at plus 180.
Ugh.
And
done with that guy.
So I was
him and Xander. I'm done with him.
I'll save what I was going to say about Morikawa. And then I have Fowler at top 10 at plus 280. And okay, and so I'm going official with Morikawa top 10. You don't like Morikawa, like Adam just went, ugh. You can go Tony Finau at plus 165.
That's not bad.
But I'm not on Finau, I guess. That's just my consolation if you hate Morikawa.
I mean, we don't
gotten scorched too many times by that guy.
Yeah, we don't hate him. It's just a burn thing.
It's a burn. It's a deep burn.
Yep. Winners! Adam, who's going to win this thing?
Scheffler at 400.
Yeah, probably.
Hovland at 1,400. Spieth at 1,400.
Oh, there we go. Got a little solidarity.
Yeah. Burns at 2,800.
That's a good price for Burns.
Yeah, and Siwoo Kim at 4,000.
Man, I've been betting on Siwoo every week. What's it, 4,000?
Yeah.
So I'm definitely going to do it again this week.
Fucking Siwoo, man. He's another guy. Every time I bet on him, he misses the goddamn cut. So
well, he's not on Smitty's top 5 this week, so he should be safe.
I'll bet him, and then I'll live bet him like on Saturday. Like, all right, here's where he turns it on. But no. Siwoo and Minwoo burn me a lot, and I just keep going back. Smitty's winners: Spieth plus 1,400.
I have Jordan Spieth plus 1,400. Yeah, I mean, he showed that he can play. He showed that he's playing fine with that injury and everything. And it's, it was a grinded out week last week, and he was still solid there, and played a nice weekend of golf. And he's going back home now, where he's not going to feel pain.
He's probably sleeping in his own bed this week too, I would guess.
Right. So I think that's going to be a big factor for him. And he has he won in 16, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Is when he won. He's
Perfect.
fucking due to win here again.
Yep.
Okay? Then I have Victor Hovland at plus 1,400 as well. Like, dude's gonna win soon. He's got to. He can't continue to choke every single tournament away.
He's not choking. He's just getting outplayed.
Okay, sure. You call it what you want to call it, but like, he has made some shots where it's just like, dude, the fuck. But yeah, you're all right too, though. He's getting beat by like ridiculously good players.
Yeah, but he's also a guy that 3 months ago, the TV guys were saying he had the worst short game of any elite player out there. He's clearly got that cleaned up.
And then he put that 100-yard shot in the water and fucked himself.
He's due.
I agree. He's too good of a player.
Hey, I think if he wins once, he's going to clip off a bunch.
Yeah, and that's the scary part too, because he's only like, what is he, like 25?
I mean, he won Tiger's tournament in the Bahamas against 15 of the top players.
So it's in there.
Pretty easy.
Yeah, he's 25 years old. So I mean, he's young yet. And then I go Colin Morikawa at plus 1,600. Another guy that's due, Max Homa, plus 2,000. And then I have Ricky at plus 2,800.
Ooh,
He's got to win.
He's another guy, right? At some point, you got to think
there.
This is the kind of tournament, that I think he could potentially win.
Yeah, it's like a midweek field.
Right.
I mean, it's not a star-studded field, but it's not.
No, I think
everybody there. So
it's a solid field, but it's something that I think that he can definitely contend in. What I was going to say about Morikawa? This is crazy. So like he's gone winless on the PGA Tour since the Open Championship in 21. That's crazy, right?
Well, did him and Cantlay win the team event?
Yeah, but just talking about him, like that's a long time.
Well, he's been fighting swing issues, and every time they show him on the driving range, he's like testing equipment. It's like, dude, come on, it's time to pump the brakes on that.
His stats though, like, I mean, he's gained an average of 6.7 strokes on approach against the field at Colonial, and was only held back by his putter last year. Which is a big thing.
Are we still talking Ricky?
No, we're
a lot of
talking
guys.
Morikawa.
I think it's dumb when these guys switch putters. Like they go from a blade putter to like a mallet to then like some hybrid backed putter, and it's like Ricky's putting with the Odyssey putter from 9 seasons ago this week, and it's like, dude, how can you get any feel putting when you're switching putters? It makes no sense to me at all. Like every time I putted bad, I'd go out and play, and I'd putt bad, and I'd grab a different putter, and it's like, no, just stick with the one.
Yeah, stop adding variables.
JT's the same way. JT, Rory, I mean, you just got to fight through it.
Another thing that I'll say about Jordan Spieth this week is like you want to look at the past 24 rounds at Colonial, right? Strokes gained approach, Jordan's number 4 there. You look at par 4s that are between 400 and 450 yards. Jordan Spieth is the top guy, right, when it comes to par 4 scoring. And then course history over the past 24 rounds, Jordan Spieth. And it's by a large margin.
I mean, I like him on these shorter courses because puts wedge in his hand. He's probably one of the best wedge players out there. I mean, definitely from the sand.
Yeah, he proved to me this last week that he's healthy.
From hole out of the sand.
He's proved to me this last week that he's healthy enough to win here this week. And being at home, like you said, probably sleeping in his own bed, hanging out with some of his boys, feeling relaxed, getting to some of those home remedies.
He might have JT staying. Okay. JT's not playing, so I guess he won't have him hanging out at the house. So
yeah.
Well, we'll find out. Maybe it is time. I mean,
let's stay hot.
Yes.
For like a month.
Yeah. This is where we hit our streak last year.
Yeah, I know.
Yep. It was not a bad summer. I mean, yeah. That carried me through football season. Like I didn't have to make a deposit during football season.
Yeah,
that's how last year's golf went.
Because then we went like 2 or 3 winners in a row, and they were like big ones, like 8-1, 30-1, 90-1.
JT Poston was 43.
Yeah, I was looking. Fitzpatrick was 30-1 at the Open. Rory 10-1.
It's not a bad little podcast to put in your rotation.
No.
It'll pay for all your other podcasts. What else we got?
That's about it, I think.
I think we've had quite the show tonight, man. We having Alex on is awesome having that conversation.
Yeah, it was very good.
Great insight. Thanks, Alex, for joining us. Thank you, Adam and Smitty, for all of your hard work. Thank you, people, for listening. If you haven't already, subscribe to the Fantasy Sports Corp channel. You're already here, so it's easy to do. Alex, where can the people find you on the World Wide Web?
Does he phased
Did Alex
out?
fall asleep? Alex fell asleep.
He might be. He's on East Coast time.
Yep. All right. Best of luck with all of your bets this weekend. We'll see you right back here next Tuesday for more plus money opportunities. Adam, say something cool that golfers say.
You want to make $14 the hard way? Good show, boys.
Boston Celtics won
We're
a
still live. We're still live.
Oh, I won't say the thing I was going to say about people's moms.